AI Biz Hour with Andy and John. It's nice to see everybody that's here already. It's good to see Southern's here, and that's cool. TVD, Julie, Sean, Gene, and William Berserk. And it's another great day. Beautiful sunny day out where I'm at. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. There's a lot of interesting news with AI. We are really starting to see the implementation of AI agents in the works in businesses now, and it's only going to accelerate over the next coming months. And yet, you will go out into the public, and people will look at you with cross eyes if you start talking about AI agents and whatnot. Often, Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm still looking for my Manus invite. I haven't got one yet. Still want to get one. So hopefully one day soon I'll be able to connect and get access to one of those things. I have found some limitations on using a local LLM, and the biggest limitation is it's single threaded. You have to do one thing, goes through the whole deal, and you have to wait till it's done. And using a browser and some of these other versions, I can, have 4 or 5 browsers going and just hit the button and go, okay, next, and then the next one, and then do 3 or 4 or 5 things. But with my local machine, I can do one at a time. So that's interesting, different kind of way of thinking. But there you go. There's my update for the day.
Yeah, well, I got a call off of outside of the space from a regular who I'm building a relationship with a lot of people outside of the space. That's there's kind of a vetting process to find out who's who, and this person is very, very, very well versed in their industry and is works at a very high level. And they got the Manus acceptance and put it together for a workflow. And they said it took them, I don't know, like an hour or two, but it was the most extent. I mean, his mind was just blown away at the output of it. And so I've been looking for my invitation. I sent in like 2 different emails, hoping that one would get the other. And I asked him, did he give a real hardcore in the application, there's an area to write a description about yourself, and I was wondering maybe his description was more eye-catching than mine. But what about yourself, Andy? Did you put in a pretty thorough description, and have you spoken to anybody who's used it? I know that I think Carlos has tried it, or I thought I saw a post. I
I,
could be wrong.
I don't know. I tried, I submitted the thing. I basically said uh, that we have a daily podcast X space where we end up with hundreds of people who join us every single day. Please send it to us so that we can review, give an honest opinion, and share it with our listeners. And I haven't heard anything back since then. So
I'm sorry, I mean Juan Carlos. Yeah, I need to leverage that I do this every day. I totally didn't even put that in, and I do put it in a lot of stuff, but now I need to start identifying myself more with this space, because it's doing significant work, and it's attracting, real people. Um would you like me to start with the news, or is there anything pressing on your mind besides what you've been doing? And now, what was the LLM that you were working on your computer locally? That wasn't Manus?
no, I've downloaded LM Studio on my Mac Mini and on a MacBook Pro that I have. And I've tried about 15 different of the smaller models, like all kinds of them. Some that will read and review images. Most of them produce text or code outputs. And so I've done some things like basic tests, like create a 4 paragraph blog, create a pop-up window in JavaScript that I could install, create a Chrome extension, or give me the instructions on how to create a Chrome extension to put something different. So I've done those kind of tests, and the models all kind of work the same. There's some nuances in the language, the context of the language, right? So it's kind of like if like John and I are talking on everybody we're recorded, we'll kind of talk at a certain pace, a certain type of language, a certain level of communication. That if I'm talking to my mom who knows nothing about AI, I have to switch that. I have to do a little context switch. Same information, but I might have to say it in a more um, word picture kind of description to my mom than I do to John, who, he and I are actively pushing buttons and clicking stuff every day. So we can kind of jump over some of the basics. That that same kind of difference is what I'm seeing in the models as they respond. And I'm not like, for example, there's a 12 billion parameter model, Gemma 3, 12 billion parameter model gives will produce 4 or 5 paragraphs or a chapter of a book, fine, and it will be accurate and wonderful. The 3 billion model will do the same thing. And there's just a slight variance in the output. But some of the other ones like Mistral and some of the Quen models as opposed to the Llama models, the Quen models don't follow the instructions the same way that the Llama models do. And the Llama models work slightly better on the text side, but on the technical code side, the Quen models work way better. So kind of weird. I hypothesized in the past about different models for slightly different purposes, and now I'm finding that those are my hypothesis was an assumption, and now they're true. But I just still haven't put together a kind of a representative grid on what does what better. Some of them do math better, some do physics better, some do um, calculations and coding, the kind of the logic side of coding better. Some do better in the communication side. I really think first of all, to be fair to everyone and to be fair to anyone listening on any of the models that are created, I'm running it on super small hardware on purpose because the goal of me doing this whole exercise is to create a standardized model that I could walk into any of my business owner friends and say, you need to put this thing in your company. Here's what you're going to get out of it. And here's what you need. And the problem is, I can do the first question. Everybody goes, yeah, exactly. What do I need? And I go, I don't know. Let me check. And so I'm in that process of creating an MVP so that they can create so here's my requirements. It's got to be secure and it's got to be private and it's got to be local. And it can be local that connects to a online SharePoint. It can be local and it connects to a virtual data lake of information. But the processing, the prompts and the responses have to be local and secure. In other words, if you do Chat GPT and you say, can you please check all of my accounts receivable and give me what my current blah 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 is, right? Or give me my last quarter's work, or give me all the, you could ask it 100 due diligence kind of questions. What's going to happen is OpenAI or Gemini or whatever, the primary company that runs that thing, your user license, when you sign up to use it, says they get to capture and use anything you do to help train their models. So you're basically giving them information about your company. Of course, it's obfuscated and blah, blah, blah. But still, the bottom line is, I don't know one business owner that goes, yeah, sure, go ahead and tell everybody what my current payroll is, or tell everybody, or just post it in the system that can go find out eventually. I mean, DeepSeek was destroyed because somebody found an open telnet port that basically you could ask any question about DeepSeek or this company or that company, and you could literally get the responses and the prompts from everybody who, whatever their username was to enter. So, the security side on DeepSeek was crazy. As a result, my criteria is I want to find a cost-effective local machine that I can purchase, that I can use to create a MVP, and then take that with me to my friends or to anyone who's asking and say, Here's how you do this. Here's what you need. Here's your benefit from it. And you're going to need this if in the next 5 years to do an exit or to do due diligence, or even I'm going to bet this is prediction. My prediction is you're going to need one of these things just to be able to verify proof so that you can get a loan from the bank for, whether it's a line of credit or payroll or blah, blah, blah. I think one of these things is going to either be required or greatly enhance your ability to get funding from various sources in the future. So I it's my gut. And so using a little tiny Mac Mini with 16 gigs of RAM, which basically cost me about $400, $300 now, about 250, I guess you can get them on Amazon. That model is barely sufficient to do what I've described. So I need to level up the next step. I need to go get about a $500 Mac, whatever the latest one is, whatever they call them, Studio or whatever, with unified memory in the 200 range, run a 27 billion model, connect it with APIs to the internet and everything else. That might work. But again, the biggest problem is you're single threaded. But again, for the same purpose we're trying to do, you could run whatever it is. That's my purpose. That was my original idea why I even started this show, because when I started the show, I had this crazy idea, which by the way has been validated by a bunch of people in that whole world. I had no idea how to do it. Like zero. Like, this is cool. How do I put ChatGPT on a local machine to do this kind of thing? And it's taken all of this time, and we've been on 92 episodes. John and I have put together 92 episodes now to get to the point where I can say the model that I have, the business model, the business criteria to do that thing is X. And here's the 3 or 4 steps I need to do to complete that. And I'm able to do 3 of the 4, and the 4th one I can't do yet. So that's just a continuous iteration. It's just normal work, right? Normal business. You have an idea, you think it's a good idea, you try this other thing, you get some people to give you some validation, even some people to give you, like, hey, sign me up for that. Let me know when you get there. I'll talk to you. We'll figure it out. I've got all of that, but I still haven't built the minimum viable product that actually will do it. I'm very close though. And so I saw a couple things where you could create a stack of Mac Minis, run it in essentially you could virtualize the overall memory and then run it multi-threaded. So you could do the same things you do on a web browser. So you could create a very simple front end browser, run it to a port, run that port multi-threaded through some orchestration layer with all the little Mac Minis all stacked up. And now you have essentially a browser-based version of ChatGPT local on your machine that would be secure and private. So you could do all those same kind of thing. So we're getting close, but I still have 3 or 4 engineering challenges to fix. And then once I get those done, put together a presentation and plan, and then start telling people that this is a good idea and you should consider doing it. Because if you don't buy it from somebody like me or my company or whatever, I'm going to build the structure to do that, you're going to end up having to pay from somebody else, and they're going to charge you a lot more, like Gartner or PwC or PricewaterhouseCoopers, if you know that, or Accenture, or somebody else that's going to come in and say, here's the thing you need to get ready for an exit. Here's the thing you need to get funding. Here's the thing that you have to have first. It's kind of like, you're going to be a CEO of a company, but you've never taken an accounting course, or it's like, it's just not going to work. Anyway, though, there you go. Sorry, I took about 10 minutes to describe where I'm at with my personal project on how to use AI in business. So anyway,
Well,
Tim, I see you've
yeah,
got your hand up. What's up? Let's go to Tim real quick, and then we'll go back to you, John.
Hey, thanks for the mic. Hope you're doing well, Andy and John. Yes, I didn't know the origin story actually, so I, for one, appreciated that. bit of a monologue in understanding the motivations and intentions behind this space and what you're doing. I think that's very incredibly commendable. So, uh, for those who perhaps aren't as much from a technical engineering background, what Andy's working on is actually incredibly important for many reasons. Chief of which is not just from a business perspective, but even from a personal perspective. At the end of the day, whatever information you're providing to any platform, AI driven or not, including this platform, I might add, is very much so subject to the terms and conditions to which you signed up to that nobody generally reads before they download a product. When the product is free, you are actually the product. We are the product. So this cannot be emphasized more. Uh, this is true. These are facts, and this is why it's important from a business perspective as well as from a personal perspective. The whole notion of data sovereignty, right? Like, who owns that data? You run a successful company. That data is yours, right? Your business's data. You have maybe information that has been digitized, whether you consented to it or not. For instance, electronic medical records, right? That information, in my very considered opinion, is yours and yours alone. And so, therefore, let's say you change doctors or you change hospitals or insurance providers. That information can and should be uh, always with you. And your ability as a fully sovereign person should be such that you can choose not to be part of a particular ecosystem, let's say a particular insurance provider. So,
Hey,
yeah,
Tim.
I just wanted to add those talking points.
Hey, I let me just explain. Tim works for a VC and a private equity firm. So the reason I asked Tim to join in was to basically to either say, yeah, Andy, that's a good idea, or oh yeah, you're an idiot. Don't do that. That's kind of dumb, and help guide me in the way we're doing it, right? So this is an open space. It's totally fine to give your opinions and your heartfelt ideas, and then get direction from everyone who's here. So anyway, thanks, John, for letting me kind of go down the path there, and then back to you. Thank you for giving me
Of
the mic for a few minutes.
of course, and the thing that you were talking about earlier. So I do SEO. I've been helping companies get found online for 15 years. And so I work with the Google algorithm or whatever, or Google. I have to, make sure that I understand it and how to present a company that it is found online and blah blah blah. So what Google has done over the years is, lots of big companies don't want to give Google Analytics their information anymore. I just put in generator for sale. If you put in generator for sale on Google, now Google has a carousel that is basically Google's getting percentage of all of this. And all these companies, any company that has that kind of a reach and that kind of a control is just going to do what it's going to do and then say sorry later. So, yeah, you really have to be concerned about just giving your information, your company's information, or what have you, to these LLMs. And and we don't know what we know until we know it. And I was just like you, Andy, when I started, in the sense that I had, only 3 months ago, I was like, I got to start building agents because I got to start to automate my workflow because I've got to be current. And I did it was interesting. I did a search this morning on companies that do AI, digital marketing, what have you, that are preparing their clients for AI search. And there's four. So that's I just wrote a book on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have it completed. It's pretty much completed, but it'll be out in a week or two. But it's gonna be really helpful for businesses, for everybody here. It's gonna be helpful to kind of understand. It goes through exactly like the algorithms, how they work, and then how LLMs work, and then how to, think about positioning yourself for this new change that's already happening. And that's good, that's good information for everyone. But I was just amazed that currently it's just it's nobody is putting two and two together yet, which is mind blowing.
It's because they just don't know, right? I mean, Scoble just literally posted that NVIDIA's coming out with an AI orchestrator. So it's cool, right? But the thing is, if okay, I in the past few months, I've gone to multiple personal events with professional people that I work with in my industry, which is, government and private, medium to large size businesses where I provide consulting and management consulting to them. And I have asked everyone at each one of these events, right? So Christmas was a couple months ago. There was some frequently, some other stuff that I kind of hung out with some people, and I've asked them, "Hey, what do you do with AI? What's going on with that?" And their answer is, "Well, yeah, I've seen it. I played with it." I'm like, "Are you using it every day?" And they go, "Well, not, and the answer is no, they're not. And the truth is, if the leaders of those organizations, managers, directors, supervisors, deputy directors, vice president kind of people, if they're not every day using it to check their email, to find a better way to say the things they're trying to say, to create a more effective use of their communication skills at a minimum, then their teams aren't either. And if they are, there's some guy down the road in their development queue is who's using it to produce his output every single day and not telling anybody. But the reality is, if you're on this space, or you're listening to this space, you're watching the live streams, you're watching them in the future, this is where the future is going to go. And I've described it in the past. I'm gonna give you the visual again. Here's the visual. You're on a jet plane. At the front of a jet plane is a long spike that sticks out in front that breaks the air. We're not at the tip of the air moving the air out of the way, but we're on that spike. That's how far we are. Everyone else you talk to is on the ground looking up at the plane at 10 or 20,000 feet, watching it shoot through the sky. We're on the plane, on the front of the plane, right near the front edge where they're moving the air out of the way. That's where we are every single day. That's why you should come join us every day. You should, get a virtual assistant. Right? We're sponsored by a virtual assistant company. By the way, we just got sponsored, which is fantastic. So, we'll get all that information. We'll get that posted to you. I'm not sure if I have it today, but
Absolutely, yeah.
we'll get
We
that.
need
Yeah,
to get that as soon as possible so we
but
can talk
but
about that
we're
when we have a
we're
goal.
on the jet plane in the sky going the 600 or 700 miles an hour right near the edge of the speed of sound, and everybody else is on the ground looking up at us. You are so far ahead, you can't even imagine it. So just here's my advice. Accept the fact that you know things other people don't know. Help them understand how it can benefit them on a daily basis. Don't lord it over them. Don't smash them in the face with it. Don't walk away like you flex, like and they don't. Don't do that. Bring people along the way. Say, this is a cool thing. You do know you can use it to be more effective in your email. Did you know you can use it more effectively to read your contracts? Did you know that you can blah, 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 whatever it is? Help people realize the potential and the growth and the opportunity it provides to everything.
Well,
Um,
it, it,
and it's uh, just sorry.
it,
Back to you, John. I'll
it,
shut up now.
no. It's interesting because I was watching Robert Scoble today. He was interviewing Sandy Austin, Agenta Kingdom. I don't know. She's supposed. I'm not familiar with her work, but she's got a really good pedigree. TED speaker, author on CNN and a lot of other sources. And she said exactly what I did a month ago. Basically, I had a client and they were just like, and so I was like, I'm going to send you a link to Chat GDP and sign up for $20 a month and start using it. And since then, I can't stand Chat GDP anymore. So I recommend Grok, but they don't want to use X because of Elon or whatever. But her recommendation is you just got to get these people to start using the tool. You can talk until your ears bleed, and it's not going to mean anything to them. They're not going to be able to put it in context where they can understand the potential of it, the power of it, until they start to use it. I have a friend of mine. He's a board member of a large institution, and I've been talking to him for months since I started the show. And he's now uses it on a regular basis, and is ahead of the curve because only recently the attorneys showed up and said, "Hey, if you do an AI consultant, these are the parameters that need to be dealt with, blah blah blah." So institutions now and bigger things are starting to um, get a little hip in terms of putting parameters for when someone comes in the door and says, "Hey, I've got a solution for you," and it involves AI. There's a lot of concern about privacy. There's a lot of concern about
Exactly.
all
And
kinds
that
of things.
and that and that's exactly why I'm going down this path of what device can I go buy off the shelf? What can I install for a few, a small configuration without changing the core structure of, I like, okay, I'll give you the alternate example of buying a Mac Mini with enough RAM to do the thing we're talking about. I can literally go buy a machine, plug in a bunch of GPUs and a bunch of RAM, plug it into a machine, load like Ubuntu Linux on it, and then set up some orchestration layers and then give somebody that. You know what? My friends, even though they're technical, they're not going to be able to use that thing. They're just not. It doesn't make sense to them. You can teach and train them. Now you're having to teach a basic skill set to I want them to go plug this in, click this link on your desktop and open up the browser and ask your little super agent whatever questions you want about your business. That is the answer. That's the Steve Jobs approach, right? I'll give you a stupid story about Steve Jobs, which everybody understands today. Okay. But if you were doing this stuff in the past, when they said we're going to create iTunes for everyone, you're going to put iTunes on every Windows machine. Steve Jobs goes, how are they going to do that? They've already got all their CDs and whatever. And he says, how are we going to do that without controlling the interface and without controlling the things? And they said, okay, we'll come back to you. And they came back with this thing and they gave the whole deal. And there was like, okay, you put your deal here and you grab your CD and you drop it into this thing. And then you click on this one to get the right, bit rate and the right codecs and the blah, blah, blah. And you click all these buttons. And Steve Jobs, about like 30 seconds into their presentation, stood up behind his desk. And this is the story, by the way. I wasn't there. This is the story I heard. Stood up and said, whoa, 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 stop. And he went to the whiteboard and he erased the whole thing. And he put a big square and he put a little circle in the middle and he wrote drop here. He said, here's what you need to do. Whatever they have, they drag and drop it into this and it automatically creates it. He says, you do anything other than that, they won't buy it. They won't use it. And that is what we need for AI. We need people to go, I have this thing. Can you make my email better? Drop. And it goes, sure, here's a better version. And they can just go, boom, paste, go. That's it. That is what we have to do. And right now, today, we are still in the Lego version of all this stuff. You have to connect a thing and drop a deal and then put your stuff in here, set the parameters and put your prompt in. And that you needed to go make a better email, paste, enter. And it goes, here you go. And by the way, it already knows who you are, what you're doing, what your context is, what your plan is. All those configurations are already embedded because it already knows enough about you to give you the best answer. This is what Umesh was talking about 3 months ago. That front end work, the auto generation of the prompts, that's where it's going to go. That is the market capability of this stuff.
It's taken me 6 months to build prompts that are like super high level prompts and to make an AI agent just for making prompts. So yeah, I
Right,
mean, there.
because
Go on.
because it's like chemistry. You had to learn the language of chemistry, and then you had to figure out the context of the grammar in order to ask the right question in order to get the result. And so, John, your 6-month journey is the same journey that most people are going to have to take. First, they hear it's cool, then they start to use it, then they go, why isn't it producing the same thing that John gets? And John goes, because there's a format and a context and a structure for doing the prompts, and you do all the prompts. John, you've gone through that journey, so you can help people along the way because you're able to produce things now that either one of us couldn't do 6 months ago.
Absolutely. And yeah, and it's fun in the sense like, so I see Jax here and I see Juan Carlos and TBD and Jason, and it feels like, and Dev, and Tim, that we're all kind of, we're on this journey together to a certain extent, because we have people that show up regularly, and then we talk with them outside of the spaces, to folks that are like really on the ball doing things. And it's this is a good community. I want to just do a little house cleaning for 1 minute. Please like and follow myself, follow Andy, follow the speakers, like and share and repost this. I don't know how many reposts we have right now. We got 4, but if we could get some more, that would be great. And please go to Andy's account, and he has a newsletter that you can sign up, as well as myself. I have a newsletter now that you can sign up to. So what I'm doing is I'm transcribing these things, and I'm creating blog posts out of them. And on days that we have really kind of significant discussions with people that are talking about really interesting things, I will add that to my blog. And we've had situations where I've linked to people's websites and they've linked to ours. So I highly recommend that you get up here and talk. I'm a good SEO guy. I know what I'm doing. So if somebody gets up and says something interesting, they have a cool website or a cool business or something like that, I'm going to help you guys out, and that's kind of part of what we're doing here. So it benefits to talk more than listen. Wouldn't you agree, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. And all of these are live streamed. The live stream is live on X and Twitch and on my YouTube channel. And if you want, you can either listen to the recording or you can go back to the live stream and listen to the recording there on YouTube. We're trying to produce and send it out as many ways as possible, right? John's transcribing it. By the way, there's a website, aibizhour.com. Just go to the aibizhour.com and you can see all kinds of stuff we've got there. John's done a fantastic job of that. So the the more that we do, the more the capabilities there are, and the more things you see how to do with them. This will not decrease. You will be able to utilize and leverage AI in your personal life, in your business life, in your family's life, in your financial life, in ways we cannot quite yet comprehend, that will just be obvious and clear and every single day in the future. That is how ubiquitous this is going to be. Everything, everywhere, all the time. It's just going to be part of everything we do, just like a cell phone, right? In the past, 25 years ago, nobody had a cell phone, or whatever it is, 35 years ago. Nobody had a cell phone. Today, nobody has a landline. They all have a cell phone. And
You
there
can't
used to be
even
one, right? It's crazy. It's crazy, right? Yeah, go ahead.
say, where I'm going to date myself a little bit. Back in the day, we used to have this thing called voicemail machines or whatever. And that was a big deal. You come home and you'd press the button and you'd hear the recording. I mean, most people in the space might not even have experienced that. But so and out of the cell phone became, we have multiple businesses that never existed before. We have industries that never existed before. So this is very important for everyone in terms of sharing. You got to do. In other words, with the great thing about Elon with Grok is one of the best LLMs. I haven't been using the API from it, but I really, really appreciate Deep Think and Think and its ability to go. Often I'll do searches where I'll say go through Reddit and go through forums and find out what is the biggest pain point for this, or just to do really quick research. It's amazing. And that's happened in such a short period of time. And there's another version of Grok coming out in a bit. But if you're not using this stuff right now, you're not in the game, pretty much. And and that's the only way that you are going to learn, is by doing. So Andy, we haven't gotten to the news. What are you thinking about today? Want to talk about we have a sponsor now that we'll talk more about. Anybody who needs a virtual assistant, if your business is scaling, if you're getting to the point where you need to have some help, we are going to talk about our sponsor starting probably tomorrow or the next day. So that's going to be our sponsor for the next 3 months, from what I understand, and that'll be one of many. And also, we're getting some requests. There's a couple people who grabbed the microphone, so please, somebody raise your hand if you can contribute to today. We're talking about AI agents, workflow automations. I see AVOI World. How are you doing today?
Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, I'm good. I've been working with a company, AI company, RLHF, and working with prompts to design prompts and to also grade responses. I've been given access to 8 LLMs, so it's like it's Llama, which is actually Meta. And then there's 2 versions of ChatGPT. There's OpenAI. There's Claude is in there too. Gemini, Grok 4, by the way, like is fucked up. And I've just been using that to spit out some code for plugins that work JavaScript for Illustrator and After Effects at the moment. And I got my first script to work 2 nights ago, and I haven't slept much since then. It's just been unbelievable. And so, yeah, just to say, like anyone that wants to make plugins or scripts for programs, like third party kind of thing, just use that. It's amazing. Thanks, bros.
May I ask you a few questions? You are mainly an artist. I mean, I'm looking at your LinkedIn and your X account, and you got some really cool stuff. Um, is that your main vocation? Is
It really
creating?
is. Yeah. What I really wanted to do on top of that is to use scripting and plugins to automate some of the processes that I go through. So that's kind of like been amazing. I use automation. I'm on Apple and Adobe. That's on CC, like all apps. I pretty much that's kind of my workflow, but I want to use AI to help me to produce scripts to automate some of the processes that might be otherwise, a little bit more difficult or time consuming. Yeah,
So, how are you creating the automation? Are you creating your own apps that will
yeah.
do it?
So I started using actions. So actions would be a process in Adobe where it will record your keystrokes or mouse clicks, and in order to like automate, like rotate the photo, turn it grayscale, whatever, you can do batch kinds of things like that. But when I'm using these new tools that we have access to, I'm trying to kind of broaden those horizons. I want to use the on Apple. I've been given access to the um, to their app builder tools. So what I want to do is using accessibility to make to use the Python script and use a shell in JavaScript, I guess, essentially. Using Xcode to then use hand tracking and then hand um, hand gestures, okay, in order to do a right click or a click or a scroll, and that's my project right now. That's basically it. Yeah, yeah, it's
So
pretty good.
I my background is an artist and painter, and I've been thinking about canceling my Adobe Photoshop account just because I'm just stunned at the lack of AI integration. Are you saying that there is AI integration in it
There
now,
is.
or do you
Um,
have to go through batches, or how
No,
exactly?
no, 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 absolutely not. Like I would apply for to use their developer tools. So I've got the APIs, SDKs. Like I've got so much access right now because I've shown interest in using those tools for like progressive outcomes, and that's kind of my obsession. Yeah, I'm an illustrator. That is really what I am. I appreciate that you saw that and you made that a point. Definitely, that's my kind of like main kind of goal, but I want to use what we have available in order to like maximize my output and to get stuff like really fucking rocking. That's kind of it. I would not say I understand your point. Um, if you apply for those tools, then you'll have a wider range of like possibilities. If you know what I mean.
If you can put some of that in the purple pill, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's I used to live in LA, and downtown LA before they regentrified it, they had all the artists move in. And then after a while, I mean, this happens all the time, but artists, I think, really bring in a certain perspective to anything that's new and is going to show opportunities that aren't seen otherwise. So I think that's really wise of that you're doing what you're doing, and you're probably going to find a lot of really cool solutions specifically that could probably have other applications besides just
100%.
just
Yeah,
making
100%. It's a fun time. That's it. It's just using what you have around you in order to like maximize like whatever project you're doing, and to try to onboard my friends has been like to take the word bored and make that into like the word boring has been just horrendous. That's the kind of like hiccup that we're at now. Yeah, so there's musicians and artists that I know, and I'm trying to say, yeah, you can use these things to your advantage. It's a very difficult conversation. That's something that it's their loss, but I don't want that loss. I want that to be a thing that progresses the entire scene all at one time, rather than one aspect of the scene to be progressing whilst others lag. If you know what I mean. I want to keep things a little bit like balanced. That's what I mean. Yeah.
well, I mean, that's one thing. Like Photoshop, back in the day, I had a very specific series of things I would do to images to get a certain effect. And that's pretty much, and if other artists can see that you can do that with just like you set it up and then you press X and you can start with any drawing or what have you. I mean, the time savings and the exponential in growth in output, I think your friends will start to notice. But yeah, at this point, it's just so crazy to me how having those conversations is anything but like people are awestruck, and I guess it's fear. I don't know what it is psychologically that
It is 100%. There, I think a lot of it is fear driven, and I was in a bit of a like crazy area that I think people are in now. About 3.5 to 4 years ago, where AI started like doing its thing that we all know about, and I was like, "Oh, this is so like oh, my job's going to be taken over." Uh, no, that's not necessarily the truth. Like you take control and ownership of what you're doing, your particular projects, and you take ownership and you use those to your advantage, those tools that we are given. That's where like my kind of like ego death in terms of AI was about 3.5 years ago, and now it seems like people that were behind they were like low curve was they're like catching up and they're all freaking out. So this is where we're onboarding a little bit just to try to keep a balance between like because they're good artists, people we know, but they're not taking on the technology responsibilities that are inside of their absolutely like for free most of the time, or at least to check these things out. That's where I think the struggle is, and it's up to them. That's definitely what I think. It's up to you.
Absolutely. Andy, you were about to say something?
Well, I love the basic concept that if you do something 10 or 15 times, that you start to screen record, automate, or create a macro out of that. That is always a good idea. And then to amplify that by using AI to then be able to reproduce and iteratively grow on that is super. That what a really good use case that almost anybody can use. And I think uh, everything you do in your life, if you do it 3 or 4 times, there is an opportunity for you to automate that and to make that a more efficient part of your life, not just something that is a drudgery that you have to do. So you should consider that kind of a thinking process. How do I replicate, or how do I reproduce these kind of crazy boring things that I have to do consistently over and over and over again? So I applaud you for that. I think it's a great idea.
Burslack or Deb? I'm not sure who. Burslashki. How do you pronounce that? So we'll go
It's
that, and then
bird
we'll go to
slash
Deb.
tech.
Okay.
It's a WoW. It's how you say LOL in WoW language. But Andy, I just want to ask you: have you ever thought about trying to merge different models, like your top 10 in one GUI, and it's all controlled by one CLI, and then maybe even make a model off of that model that summarizes all of them together, and then you have more like refined output, I suppose.
Yeah, ultimately, I'd like to create. I would like to take one of the models that works for the intended business purpose that I'm working on, and be able to then train it so that it does things like it does accounting, reconciliation as well or better than anything else. It can do things like fully loaded costs of resources as opposed to just giving a calculation or a spreadsheet. So I'd like to be able to tune a model to what I wanted. And I do think that eventually what will happen pretty much everywhere is there will be an orchestration layer that you operate the orchestration layer through a browser, and then the browser reaches out to the various models to do the different parts. And so even though my original idea is to say we have a machine that I go down to my buddy who builds um, water waste retrieval for food processing plants, right? So he builds water retrieval systems for that, and just go, hey, we could plug this in to your stuff, and then you'll be able to do all of these questions and all of this check and balance stuff that you need to do as a business owner, operator, general manager kind of role, that you can do that. The original idea is one box plugged into your network, connected to your stuff that you have access to, that you can then just unplug whenever you want, right? Plug it in, do your thing, unplug it, and then you can ask your questions on a local device without it connecting to everything else. For there was a primary business. It was my first idea, but I think as we continue to evolve and iterate through the use cases of AI, more likely scenario is that machine or that little cluster of machines is going to have an orchestration layer with a graphical interface in front of it, basically a chatbot window. You ask it questions, and it is in the back updating the model, running its new things, checking for the latest version of it, rerunning its training scenario every evening or every quarter, plus going out to the APIs of the various systems, grabbing that data, creating its own data lake, its own vector database, building that kind of reservoir of data so that it becomes effective in answering the business questions it has, because the business questions are pretty narrow in scope, but also not that narrow. If you I guess it You don't need to know the personalities of all of your resources, but you need to know how many of you have, what their likelihood is, when they're actually going to retire. So if you did a 5-year plan, are you going to have to replace 1, 2, 10, 15% of your staffing? Whatever it is, you have to. Running a business in that way requires you to think about things in a manner that is outside of what normal people think. And that normal thinking is what causes most projects and most products to fail, because people assume something that isn't true. And it's always a case to make sure that you are talking from a fact, not from an assumption. I mean, I gave a whole talk this weekend on the ITT about the danger, the trap of assumptions, and how that ultimately will hurt you. And so you need to validate your assumptions as kind of a primary tenet of running a project. And a project to me is just anytime you change something. So if you make a change, that's a project. You're starting from one idea, ending in a second idea, or a second function or behavior or activity. And you just have to go through the process of iterating through that whole thing. And AI is really good at some parts of that. I mean, really, really good, better than humans, like we talked about yesterday. So these tools are amazing in a pretty narrow context, but they're still amazing.
Absolutely. Dev, or do you have a follow-up, Burr Slashki?
No, I'm good. It's Burr/Keck.
Burr/Get. All right, thank you. Dev, and then we'll go with Jason.
Hello, everyone. Hello, AI John, Andy, Timo. Thank you for the chance to talk again. So just something I think VOI said. Applying not taking AI as being the enemy or is gonna take your job. Considering that I'm a web developer and I know that creating websites now is pretty much just writing prompts and you have a website. If I went on with the whole, idea of, yeah, I can't use this because it's like seeing it like as if is a rival. I won't be able to, achieve some tasks, all that. So I just think no matter the area you are in or you work in, you just try to apply what you have, the AI you have access to making work a bit easier for you. I just wanted to share another good, because I reached out to a client today. I've been maintaining their website since January this year, and I pitched them about I asked the GM I asked the GM about what are you going through, what's that task that you wish you could just do something and it's done. And he talked to me and I suggested some AI automations I've already set up for newsletters, um, to help him, curate newsletters just writing what you want and all that. And he was really into it. And being able to have a tool that is able to, reply to comments, reply to DMs, and you don't have to do that every single day was really helpful. So applying that to your reality is the best use case of AI. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, Arthur, you got to be really pat yourself on the back. There's not many people out there currently getting clients with AI solutions like what you're doing. So you're way ahead of the curve, and your clients really need to understand how fortunate they are that they have you. And so, you should give them a link to this space. Just kind of, let them know that they're on the cutting edge. They're going to be ahead of their competitors, and in a subtle way or in a nice way. You don't want to bang them over the head, but you got to really point out what you bring to the table, because yeah, I don't there's not many people here that are actually they're tweaking with it, they're working with it, but to actually be doing it with clients and selling those solutions is a big thing. So congratulations. Andy, you want to add anything, or we'll go to Jason?
Well, I'm just about to the end of my time, so just go to the things. First of all, I appreciate everybody. If you're interested in a virtual assistant, reach out to us. We're sponsored, which is woohoo, and we're excited about that, and we're happy to help share and do everything else. So thanks again, John. Thanks everybody for so far. I'm going to listen in for the last couple minutes, and then I'll be off. And thanks again.
Excellent. And thank you, Andy. And I'm going to have to leave soon myself. So I think we'll go maybe an extra 10 minutes or whatever. Just what Jason, unless there's anybody who has a burning thing they want to talk about. But Jason, how's it going? Good to see you.
Good. And double checking my mic because I'm on PC. Is it okay?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay. So I've been away a little bit from the space. I'm kind of floating in, but I wanted to ask, has anyone brought up the topic about vector databases? Has that been brought up at all? I feel like Umesh may have talked about it.
Can you say that again?
A vector database. V is in vector.
Yeah. Umesh has.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on.
We mentioned it just a little bit ago, right? We're using
okay.
vector databases, but yeah, we're aware of it. I don't think Jason. I don't think most people get it, but go ahead and explain it. But thanks.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just getting into it, and I'm looking for a little bit of help and resources for it. So if you are in an Azure ecosystem, I'm kind of curious what everyone's using. But to summarize, it is a way to take prompts and build almost like if you're at a library, you're building a card catalog, a way to connect data to prompts in a systematic way. So right now, we cannot train the language models to remember things, or we can, but you are not sure about how you're going to change the overall model. So the alternative approach is you connect your prompting to this vector database. You submit a prompt, you generate this code, and then you can use that code to look up your data that you've categorized on your own. So this is kind of a developer heavy thing, but it is a way to add memories to your language model. That's probably the best I can explain it concisely.
Yeah. The other thing you should look at is the temperature of the model, right? So if the temperature is at like 0.01, you're going to get a consistent response from the model all the time. Most of the models are in, 1020 or to like 0.2, 0.4, 0.8. And that's going to increase the reasoning, which of course will give you a different, kind of a different response each time you do the model. So if you're in LM Studio, you can click the configuration, go down, set the temperature lower on that model. You'll get a more consistent response. But it still doesn't solve your problem. It just makes the precision closer to 0, but it still has some variance. So just take that idea and try to apply that, see how that helps. Hopefully it will. I don't know if it will or not, but try that. And I got to run. Sorry. DM me, Jason. If you get stuck on that, just DM me and I'll share what I'm working on.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And Jason, yeah, definitely, come back here and ask the question more than once. I know that Ross at Tech and Schools, he mentioned a solution for the memory problem where he put an agent just specifically. I think I got it right. I'm not sure 100%, where they would be putting outputs into a database that was just stagnant, and it would only be taking output. You would put stuff into that database, and then you could retrieve, but you wouldn't manipulate it, which I think is one solution for the memory problem. Have you tried something like that, or is that within the vector stuff that you're?
I'm looking for something a little bit more sophisticated. So my workflow is I have a whole bunch of customer data, right? You kind of have like business name, category, maybe some notes about your interactions with them, things like that. And basically, when you save it, I'm wanting to capture that vector of when it saves, so that whenever I start integrating the AI, it's like someone asks a question, then I can take that prompt and then look up based on that. That's kind of my workflow.
And that's dynamic and changing over time.
Right. Yeah. So it's like initially you'd have to build out the index at once, but then after that you could just, when you add or update any sort of data, you could take that and generate a vector for it. That way it's like you're doing the work as you go versus having to like post process after a prompt. So
Well, Umesh is on doing something where he's offline for a little bit, but
okay,
when he gets back, definitely, yeah, that
talk
would
to
be
him. Okay.
a good question for him, and I would continue to come back and ask people in the room because there's all kinds of people that come through here, and yeah, that's a the memory problem is a problem. It's got to be solved one way or another.
Yep. Cool.
Excellent, thank you, Jason, and yeah,
Yeah.
and also if you have any other requests in the room on that, just please shout it out. And yeah, I would DM Andy. He's he's definitely more knowledgeable about that than I am.
Yep. And then small follow up. I tried to look for the Discord and I went to the web page, but I don't know that there's a link active. Is there a Discord to join?
Oh, for the space?
Yes. Uh huh.
No, I'm not a big. I might if you if you want to help with that. I that might be if you want to. I would need help with that. Discord's not like my world really, but I think that we need to have a way for developers that can kind of share and stuff like that. I think it would be a good service for the community. If that's something that you think you'd like to help, I'd be more than happy to help you do that in any way possible. Because yeah, there needs to be some kind of cohesive community that number one vets everybody, so no bozos can show up that's going to waste anyone's time. Where you say, "Hey, let me see your GitHub," or let me, where developers can instantly determine whether or not the people are who they say they are, and then keep it pretty secure on that level, and then have developers share information with each other. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'll set it up and invite you as admins. And then if you want to link it to your page, you can.
That would be awesome. That would be really good because yeah, and I think yeah, maybe talk to myself or Andy offline, but I think the vetting is super duper duper important. We've had some people who come here and say X, Y, and Z, and then they talk to someone offline, and then they're like, "Okay, show me what you got going on," and that's kind of a problem. And no one can really afford to waste that much time. We don't know who we're dealing with. You don't want to share kind of details, so I think that that's a big deal. You have any thoughts?
Yeah. It definitely can ruin the whole thing of you continually have trolls come in and spam or just,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I mean,
Discord is very bot heavy.
yeah, I mean, we're very good. Actually, we don't continually have people that do that, but once in a while they come through, through the cracks. But I just think that if because we're all the space is for professionals, right? And people who are working to improve themselves, and people who are just kind of full of noise and error. We just it's not the space for them. So that's my thoughts on it. Okay. And on that note, I am, if anybody would like to chime in, or they have a pressing question or something that they'd like to talk about, please ask for the mic. And if there's no one, then I think we're going to close up shop early today just because I got a lot of stuff to do. And I really, uh, help from people that are interested in helping with this community would be great. You can then always DM myself or Andy, and try to put some, I don't know, a mission statement or whatever about what this is, because it is turning into something. We have a sponsor now, and we want this to grow and it to be a resource for like you, Jason, that you're outside, you're working on something, you can come here and share things, and also everybody learns and moves forward at a faster, accelerated pace than as suppose we were just on our own out there in the dark, trying to get all the answers from Grok or what have you. That's it's a lot more accelerated if we're getting answers from each other. So I think that's one of the big values of this space. And I see Timo is here. So I wonder if Timo has anything to say. And then now I'm putting on my radio band's voice. So no one's really talking. So I guess I'm just going to talk a little bit. I do really enjoy these moments where I can put on my radio voice and kind of say into the to the dark regions of X, or not really the dark, into the regions of X that hello everybody. And today is March 18th. 2025. It's 1:06 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. And really appreciate everybody who came here today, because this space is only as good as the people that show up. And we have a real wonderful audience that comes back here again and again and again. And I can't thank you all enough. And I truly appreciate you attending, speaking up, sharing, and being part of this community. I know Andy does as well. We're moving forward, and we do now have a sponsor, and we have a website, which is aibizhour.com, and you can go there and you can take a look at it. Please go to my account if you'd like and sign up to my newsletter, because we're building a community through the newsletter, and you'll be informed about what's going on. I think in the future we might have some Zoom meetings. Maybe we'll meet up in person for some kind of event. We're not sure. This is all kind of brand new. And if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee or lunch for the time that I invest into this, because I take this very seriously, I'd greatly appreciate it. You go to my account and there is support through Zelle, and you could buy me a cup of coffee or lunch. That'd be wonderful. And I just can't thank you all enough for showing up. I see Vladimir's out there. Hope Vladimir's doing well. He's an awesome person, part of the Startup Circle. And Kevin created the Startup Circle. And I really highly recommend that everybody join the Startup Circle. It's a great community of people that are actually really doing things and care about improving themselves, their business, and their prospects. And as a group, because we've passed through this new portal, which is called I don't know what, but it's definitely time is accelerated. And it is kind of a different experience, I think, where the communities mean a lot more. And communities will have greater effects in certain ways than individuals. And that's one of the strengths of the Startup Circle. It is a strong community. It's growing fast, and it has really it has people that are serious people doing serious things, which is important that we that moniker, or that ethos stays strong, because that makes it, for the serious people, interesting to keep on showing up and find out what's going on, and seeing other people that move forward and get you a little, get your hairs up, and you want to move forward. And that's kind of the part of the gladiator circle, or whatever you want to call it, that we have here. And it's nice to see everyone again. So I and Endless and a lot of wonderful people here. And I see Julie and Mano Kama. I'm sorry. I'm really I don't want to. I'm not the greatest at pronouncing words. And Sharon's here, so just want to acknowledge everybody who's showing up today. And if anybody wants to grab the mic, I'm going to give it 10, 9, 8, just a couple more seconds, and then we'll close up. And I can ramble for a long time, but I don't think anybody wants to hear me ramble too much longer, unless you just really love my voice. But besides that, I think we're going to close up, everyone, and just have a great day. We're looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Keep up with the hard work and enjoy life. We're all going to have, a exciting experience moving forward. That's for sure. It's not going to be boring. All righty then. Perfect. So have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you tomorrow.